Hello everyone, Mr. Greg here. Today, Mr. Andrew, Miss Megan, and I took a trip out to More Than a Horse Farm in Montgomery to meet some new friends. It wasn't long before we got to know Poco Bueno, Rocky, and the rest of the gang, and we talked to the owners of the farm about how it all got started. We even read a great book while we were there. Take a look. Here we are at More Than a Horse Farm, and so if you would, please tell us about the organization. Like, what do you do here?
Well, we welcome people from Montgomery, surrounding counties, children, people that suffer from PTSD, isolation. We actually started this last year during COVID. I came out and was talking to the horses because I didn't have any tours to do. And so I thought, this is some therapeutic conversations I'm having and interactions with these horses. And so I talked to my siblings and my family about it. And I said, why don't we just open this up to the general public so that people can come and take their mask off, schedule a time for just their families to deal with this isolation that none of us really were accustomed to. And so it's the organization itself is under Faith Crusade, the Montgomery Rescue Mission, not Faith Rescue, Montgomery Rescue Mission. And so basically these are rescue horses, and they rescued us during COVID. Here we are a year later, and folks from the military, whether they are suffering from PTSD, whether it's children with autism, whether it's homeschoolers, they just want a place to come interact with the horses. And so that's how it all started.
So tell us about the horses.
Yeah, so actually we had two. Poco Bueno, which was a champion horse that hurt himself, and the owners didn't want him anymore. And so we took him on, and it was another horse that was with him, but he was bad, so he tried to bite somebody, so we had to let him go. But Poco is a breeder, so these other two horses, which are rescue horses, found themselves on our property eating our vegetable garden. The owner came by and said that he didn't want them anymore, and essentially just left them here with us. And so we said, okay, now we have three horses. And then by Poco being a breeder, he bred two more horses. And then we have one last horse, which is the black one, Rocky, that was just left here. And, he was emaciated and just a sad horse. And so we went on and nursed him back to health. The handlers loved on them, people, so they pick up your spirit kind of. And so they're just well-mannered horses, and we've just allowed the people, the communities to come out and fellowship with them, if you will.
So what does it take to take care of this many horses?
Whew, you would have to ask Tracy. Well, it takes a lot of energy because there's 7 of them. But it also costs, and so we try to, if you look at them, you see that they're well maintained, and so it takes a great deal of dedication to make sure that they're groomed, that they're fed twice a day, that they're let out, because we want to be able to keep them safely back here on the farm. So there's a lot of upkeep, a lot of grooming and restoration, or a lot of work here on the farm to keep it where it's conducive to people coming out.
Well, I'm Tracy Browder, and I work here on More Than a Horse Farm, and I love working with the horses, and there is a lot of care involved, with cleaning out the stalls and feeding them twice a day, and we let them go graze, so it's pretty involved, but we love having people to come out to ride and to just feed them apples, carrots, and so yeah. It's a lot of fun.
So how can people contact you, especially if they want to contribute to your organization?
Yeah, we could love it. They could adopt a horse if they would like to. All of them are up for adoption, or you could just take care of them. And so if you would like to do that, they can reach us at 334-296-3024, and or they can go to Facebook, and they can actually book an appointment there. But if they would like to donate, they're more than welcome to go to Faith Crusade. Well, actually, it's fcmrm.org and or the More Than Tour site, and there's a click to donate button.
We really enjoyed our time at More Than a Horse Farm, and before we left, we read a story about a similar farm. This book is This Way, Charlie, inspired by a real animal friendship, by Caron Levis and Charles Santoso. Jack watched the new animals scamper, hop, flap, and trot their way into Open Bud Ranch. Some would stay a short while, and others longer. A few might make the ranch their home, like Jack had when he needed a safe and caring place to live. Open Bud Ranch had space for all kinds, and all kinds of space, to heal, rest, and grow. Everyone could see that Jack liked keeping his space to himself. Everyone except Charlie. When Charlie arrived, he didn't see Jack at all. "Hey!" bleated Jack. "Pardon me," neighed Charlie. Jack could tell from how Charlie swerved this way but not that way that Charlie could only see out of one of his eyes. Antonia explained that once in a while, for different reasons, blindness happened. She couldn't mend Charlie's sight like she had the eagle's broken wing, or release him into the wild like the possums once they'd grown, but she could give Charlie time to see in his own new way. Antonia said everybody deserves plenty of food, love, and patience. By now, Jack knew this ranch gave plenty of fresh hay, groomed with soft brushes, and always trimmed hooves slowly. Still, he didn't want anything to get too close, too quick, or too loud. So Jack stepped back, and he watched out for Charlie. Charlie whinnied to everyone in a cheerful way, swished his tail, snorted, and stopped to sniff the honeysuckles the same way Jack liked to. He chewed thoughtfully and followed the sunlit patches as if he wanted to get to know the whole place. Some mornings, Charlie pawed at a dry patch of dirt. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Hungry, thought Jack, or scared, maybe lonely. One day, Jack took an extra deep breath of honeysuckles. In for sweet, out for brave. "This way, Charlie," he said, and showed him the way to his favorite field. They grazed and bathed in the sunlight. The next day, Jack did it again. "This way, Charlie!" Jack walked a little ahead and on Charlie's seeing side. He slowed down where the trail got steep, stomped when they reached fresh water, and when it got too hot, he called Charlie toward the shade. "Hey!" Jack called. "Hey is for horses," Charlie called back. Soon, the next day became every day. Walk, graze, sunbathe, return. Sometimes, a quiet like warm milk filled the space between them. Other times, Jack asked Charlie questions about swinging a long tail, about galloping, being so tall, going blind, about bugs, plants, and clouds, about the ranch, the world, and sometimes about dreams. "The way I see it," Charlie would answer, and Jack would listen. On cold and wet mornings, instead of going to their place, Jack guided Charlie to the barn. Charlie would step in, but Jack always stayed out. He wanted to go where it looked peaceful and dry, but his body remembered a different barn from long ago that wasn't calm or kind. Charlie couldn't make the rain or the past disappear, but he could show Jack how kindness moves, sounds, and waits for skies to clear and new memories to take shape. Charlie could give Jack an inside, outside. Boom! Crack! "Did you get scared of things you can't see?" Jack asked Charlie. "All the time," Charlie told Jack. "But the way I see it, that's what a friend like you is for." Friend. Jack chewed the word over like a mouthful of fresh, sweet grass. As the days went by, Charlie began walking more and more slowly. Then one day, he stopped. He couldn't see out of either of his eyes now. So Jack moved closer and to the center of the path. "This way, Charlie!" "Yes, this way, Jack." They kept walking, one hoof in front of the other, until it felt like Jack's steps were Charlie's and Charlie's steps were Jack's. Once, when the goats went galloping by, Charlie said, "We could play with them today." Jack trembled. "Or maybe with the fawns?" Charlie asked. "Or the new raccoon." "I can't." Making new friends gave Jack a bumpy feeling. "Let's just say hello, the way I see it." "No, you don't see! You can't see!" Charlie was surprised. So was Jack. He hadn't meant to snap, so close, so quick, so loud. A new kind of quiet filled the space between them. It felt like a swallow of dry, rotten grass, rumbling around their insides. Maybe that's why they didn't notice the sky was rumbling too. Boom! Crack! Rain came pouring down so fast and thick that Jack couldn't see Charlie. Wind howled so loud that Charlie couldn't hear Jack. Trees bent, fell, and tangled, trapping Charlie. Jack tried this way and that way, but there was no way in and no way out. So Jack ran. Jack ran and ran for Charlie. He bleated to all the animals for Charlie. Jack banged at doors, found Antonia, and urged everyone to follow him closely. "This way! Charlie!" The mud was thick and the branches were strong, but the whole ranch working together was stronger. Finally, Charlie was free. Jack led the way inside. "This way, friends!" Everybody huddled together. Jack whispered, "I'm sorry." And Charlie whispered, "Thank you." The barn filled with all kinds of snores, dreams, and a quiet that neither Charlie nor Jack could see, but both could feel was splendid and warm. Like the sun that rose the next morning. They walked that day, the next day, and every day for the rest of their lives, one hoof in front of the other. "This way, Charlie! This way!"